Hey look, it's 2024, the year of the dragon on the Chinese calendar. This is the perfect time for me to finally do something dragon related I've been thinking of doing for a while now. I'm sure if you've known about the hit 2010's MMO Dragon Nest, there is a chance you might have heard about not so hit 2014 Dragon Nest the movie. This movie came out 10 years ago, Jesus Christ. If you somehow stumble upon this video without knowing what Dragon Nest even is, then first of all, I can't even blame you because the game is literally dead.
Dead as hell.
And second of all, hi, please don't leave. I assure you, watching a girl with hyperfixation be unreasonably mad about a movie no one cares about is very entertaining. By the way, just a heads up for anyone watching. I know it's not very likely, but just in case this video somehow gets blessed by the YouTube algorithm, I'm going to have to explain Dragon Nest lore details so all of us can be on the same page. So about the movie. First up, I should mention that the entire movie is available to watch on YouTube for free, which is always a sign of quality. According to the Dragon Nest CIA fandom wiki,
Corny, lame, boo, tomato, corn tomato.
Dragon Nest Warriors Dawn is loosely based on the plot of the game Dragon Nest. How loosely, you may ask? Well, around that much. Yeah, the only thing in this movie left from the original plot is the appearance of the most recognizable characters and the description of one canon event. The event in question is the Black Dragon Raid, which happened 50 years before the main game's event. During the game's story, we were never actually shown the whole raid itself, only the parts of the story that combine it to the bigger picture. So it would be actually really cool to go back to the past and experience this event firsthand, right? Well, it would be if the movie did exactly that, because nothing that happened in this movie is canon. If you happen to see it already and also read through the game's main quest, you would instantly notice just how non-canon this movie actually is. So why exactly did that happen? If the game already has a compelling and interesting plot and established characters, why did the movie decide to deviate from it so much? Well, it all suddenly starts to make sense once you actually look at the movie's rating. If we've learned anything from YouTube, is that the best way to make money is marketing to children. One interesting thing I found is that according to IMDb, the age rating of this movie is varied, to say the least. For example, in South Korea, where Dragon Nest game was actually made, it's rated for all, while in the United States it's rated 13 and up. But if I had to rate the movie myself after watching it, I would give it around 6 and up. I'm going to elaborate on that later. If you've ever read the original story in the game, then you will know that it's actually surprisingly dark, especially since the start of the Mistland arc. However, even in Legendia, where the movie's events are actually based in, the events aren't exactly sunshine and rainbows either. So while the plot became more family-friendly, the story quality took a huge blow. You may say the fact that the movie deviates from canon doesn't automatically make it bad. For example, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie isn't exactly canon to the original games either. But trust me when I say that being non-canon is the least of the Dragon Nest movie's problems. I'm sorry to the 5 actual fans of Warriors Dawn, but this movie is bad not just as a tie-in to the game, but as a standalone title too. And today, I am going to explain exactly why that is. This movie starts with some basic exposition, explaining that the Black Dragon is about to launch an attack on Elthera, which is so far so good. The Black Dragon did indeed gather an army of monsters in order to destroy the world. We then cut to Nervin and one of our movie-exclusive characters, Liya. The two of them, and some other random elf I guess, are investigating the land of elves, Anu Arendelle, because Nervin is not like the other elves and senses that something sus is about to start. How and why does she know about the Black Dragon? Nobody knows, but apparently her suspicions come true almost immediately. Turns out the one that attacked them is none other than...
Princess Elena.
Yeah, I would have never guessed it was supposed to be her based on the appearance. And then she explains her plans to rule the world?
So you're Liya. You should join me. Soon I will be the ruler of Alterra.
Yeah, I guess Feather doesn't exist in this universe. I never even realized how important that motherfucker actually is until this movie outright deleted him from existence. In case you don't know, Feather was the true antagonist in the actual lore. Irina wasn't even the main villain, she was just working for him as one of the apostles. The one actually pulling all the strings the entire time was this guy. Also, this moment isn't even the only one where Feather's deletion destroys the story. Oh, there is way more where that came from. After the title drop, we cut to the army of monsters preparing to attack Keldrog. This is where we introduced our main character, Lambert. Not that Lambert. They just happen to share a name, that's all. Anyway, if you take a look at this guy, you will be right to assume he will definitely not be fighting this entire army of monsters by himself. Instead, he rushes back to Keldrog to warn everyone. Except before that happens, we are treated to random shenanigans. Somehow his clumsy level 1 warrior ass is spotted by a few goblins that were conveniently singled out from the rest of the monster army for some reason. He gets chased by these two goblins for almost 3 minutes straight, in what I can only call a sensory scene. The thing is, nothing really changes if we completely remove these 3 minutes. The whole thing is literally nothing but slapstick funny animations, haha, look at it move.
You want food? I have a chicken leg. It's really tasty.
Remember how I said I'd give this movie a rating of 6 and up? The reason I called this moment sensory scene is because it gives me one of those sensory animation for toddler vibes. It's the kind of thing you'd put on for a little baby who will go out for a smoke. When rewatching this movie for a second time to write this review, I had to put this scene on playback speed of 2, just because it got so mind-numbingly bored. Also, if you think that I'm hating on this random scene in particular for no reason, this isn't the only one of them sensory scenes in this movie. This is actually quite a common occurrence. After the goblins get FNAF jump scared, Lambert actually manages to warn the village before leaving and immediately getting attacked by the same army of monsters. But before he could be carried away to the goblin cave, a voice from the sky drops a whole ass anchor to pull Lambert and his dogs up to the flying ship.
I hate unfair fights!
And who may that voice belong to, you may ask? Well, turns out it's none other than Barnack himself. He looks close enough, I guess. Wait, how the hell was his voice so loud and clear if he was yelling all the way from the fucking clouds? How did he even spot Lambert all the way from above in the first place? Wouldn't he firstly be small as hell, and secondly covered by all the leaves of all the trees in the forest? Whatever, he's just quirky like that, I guess. So quirky, in fact, that the moment Lambert gets on the ship, Barnack immediately starts throwing hands and roasting the fuck out of him.
Your defense is weak. With a real sword, you'd be dead already. You hit me just once. I buy you a real sword.
Dang it!
Did that not count as hitting him? If that was a real sword, bro would have lost his whole arm. But I guess that wasn't good enough for Barnack because they continued to fight for a whole another minute.
Barnack, are you done with your little game?
Wait, why are they saying his name like that? Since when is it actually pronounced with a V? Am I the one crazy? Or is the movie tweaking? Anyway, I will continue to pronounce it as Barnack, cause this shit ain't making no sense to me. Well, no big deal. I'm sure this is the only time we'll have a problem like this.
We're just having some fun, Grant.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Grant!
You guys may be wondering why I'm so skeptical about the pronunciation of characters' names in this movie. After all, why would they butcher names in the official localization? Well, I have my reasons to take it with a grain of salt. Because believe it or not, Identity has its history with terrible name pronunciations.
Grele, calm down. This isn't your fault.
It is my fault. If I was stronger than Herendel, things wouldn't have turned out this way.
Yeah, now I hope you understand why I don't trust them.
Argenta has a weakness for small creatures.
Well, at least your name is pronounced normally. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how canon the weakness for small creatures part is. However, I do know that she doesn't have a weakness for other people. What the hell is she doing here? Argenta would only rarely accompany the 6 heroes because she doesn't trust others, and she was completely against even Jan joining them in the first place. But here she is, a part of the gang for some reason. While the 4 of them are on their way to Saint Haven, we cut over to Nervin trying to warn the Human King of the coming monsters. I actually don't know which king this is supposed to be. According to the original lore, this is supposed to be King Cassius I. However, this motherfucker looks and acts nothing like him. Besides the king, we're also introduced to some cleric who immediately starts out by being racist.
Princess, this is the human palace.
Priest for the beast. Tarum.
Wait a minute, what? This looks nothing like Terramite. Who is this?
Good to see you.
Nah, bruh, hell nah. Who the hell decided that this looks remotely anything like this? Did they base his younger version on his older sprite? Why would they do that when they already know how his younger version looked like? What the hell happened here? By the way, the sorceress here is supposed to be a Karakul, but even she looks closer to the game, what the fuck? The king gets tired of their shit and throws a boogie 2988 temper tantrum before Nervin hits him up with the live feed from the Google Maps. But the king doesn't believe in this pesky elf technology and basically tells everyone to piss off. While all of this is happening, we cut back to Barnack and Lambert trying to haggle with the blacksmith. And I must say, the blacksmith model is probably the most accurate model to the game so far. One small issue. Why the hell is the model for the freaking blacksmith NPC more accurate than several of the major fucking characters?
He's a trickster, little f***.
What? Oh, watch out!
Well, I see where the 13 and up rating came from now. Following whatever the fuck that was, Liya runs away after being publicly outed as an elf. By the way, for some reason this movie decided to make humans and elves hate each other. I don't know why. And then Lambert decides to chase her for some reason? Why? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because the writers couldn't bother to come up with an actual compelling reason for the 2 main characters to meet, and we were also due for another sensory scene. But as soon as you come back after your well-deserved smoke break, you might want to immediately go out for another one, because the next scene is egregiously bad. After that is over, they fall into some kind of weapon warehouse or something, before being surrounded by disguised monsters. How is this happening in the middle of the day, in a busy city? Wouldn't somebody call the guards or something? Are these monsters fucking stupid? Whatever secret plan they were there for is now completely compromised because they decided, yes, let's attack these 2 randos for no reason. You might say, but Serene, they evil. Their goal is to kill humans and destroy. I'll tell you how they could have done so more efficiently if they wanted to. They were just literally in front of an unguarded pile of fucking bombs. Do you realize what kind of destruction potential a bomb has? Not to mention a pile like that. If a group of these utter brain deads would wait 5 minutes for these 2 to leave, they could have easily snuck in and blown up half of the city. And why the hell are the bombs laying around on the middle of a random street in the first place? Who the hell is in charge here?
Oh no. Looks like you're gonna have to trust a human now.
Well, I guess that answers the question of who left the bombs here. But what the hell? You're telling me a group of monsters not only managed to sneak into the capital city undetected, brought in a bunch of weapons, including bombs, and literally started building on one of the fucking castle walls? And apparently nobody noticed this because they were hiding under a fucking cloth. I'm sorry, y'all deserve to be wiped out by monsters at this point. How the hell did nobody notice this? Who let this happen? Who?
The Black Dragon's coming!
Okay. Remember what I said about the bombs? Just the spire laying around, right? If the monsters were planning to blow up the wall from the start, then why did they only do that right now? Did they somehow fucking foresee the future and knew that the main cast will appear at this exact fucking spot? And also, if their plan was to blow up the wall to let in the horde of monsters into the city, then why the fuck did they build this whole dumbass wooden structure right over the same wall they were planning to blow up? Does nobody think ahead for more than 5 seconds in this movie? Okay. I need to calm down and talk about Lambert for a second. Remember how when we first saw him, he was running away from 2 goblins, even though they looked like he could step on them? Well, in the span of around 15 minutes, we somehow got from this to him charging this giant-ass monster. And during these aforementioned 15 minutes, literally nothing happened that would warrant this transformation. Sure, we were showing him fighting with Barnack on that ship, but ain't no way that one scene gave him enough experience to go from level 1 warrior to a competent fighter. Oh, I get it. It's because the required level to get to Saint Haven is 24, so he had to farm off camera. Okay, that's stupid.
Grunt. It is
Well, Scott, I have missed our friendship.
These times are hard on all friendships.
Finally, as soon as the best character shows up, the guards notice what the hell is going on and immediately deal with the monster invasion. Velskut is definitely gonna fire whoever was in charge of security that day. Now that the best boy is here, things will definitely start looking up, right? Why is this music suddenly playing?
I fear it means the Black Dragon is reviving.
No, it can't be.
For some reason, the king reacts like he didn't hear the exact same information from Nervin several minutes ago. I guess Velskut is just that good. The alliance is finally formed, and the gang is all here. We get a whole 2-second shot of the actual playable character. Wait, what? You aren't even supposed to be born yet. How the hell are you two here? Camelina, did you give them your time machine? But don't get too distracted by the time anomaly, because the next scene is surprisingly fucked up. Remember those 2 dogs Lambert had? Yeah, turns out Barnack sold them to the fucking blacksmith while Lambert wasn't looking. What the hell? Bear in mind, as far as we know, it was literally like a day since Barnack met him, and he just sold both of these boys' literal pets after promising him to pay for his sword himself. What a fucking ass! What's this? A vision from the future?
Well, I bought back the dogs and paid the blacksmith to take care of them.
Okay, fine, I take that back. Apparently even the writers realize how much of a fucking asshole Barnack would have been if he actually did that. So this entire scene is just completely pointless now. Awesome. You know what? I'm not even gonna ask how she saw that. Apparently everyone in this movie has a zoom lens in their eyes. And because she did, they just so happened to get on the same floor where the heroes are having dinner with the king. They can sneak into. How very convenient.
Its awesome power comes from a gem in its chest.
I'm sorry, but why the hell are they eating pearl oysters with pearls still inside them? Anyway, they talk about how to kill the dragon. They must first take out its dragon jewel. Pretty standard dragon nest lore. Now, for all of us to be on the same page about this, I'm gonna need to explain some Dragon Nest jewel lore that the movie will not tell you. In the beginning, the goddess created two dragons, the Ancient Dragon and the Chaos Dragon. Their role was to protect the world of Elthera. Now you may ask, if the dragons are supposed to protect this world, then why is the Black Dragon trying to destroy it? Well, at some point in the past, the Ancient and the Chaos Dragons had to fight a third one, the Beyond Dragon, that came from the alternative world of Mistland. In the end, the two dragons managed to defeat it, but in the process the Chaos Dragon became corrupted and the Ancient Dragon was forced to kill it. After that, the Ancient Dragon split into three separate fragments that became other dragons, but the Chaos Dragon split into 7. The Black Dragon is merely one of them. If you don't know what happened to the fragments of the Ancient Dragon, boy, you're in for a surprise. Why did I just make you listen to this entire lecture? Well, it's because the hero started talking about dragon jewels and the things they say about them are strange to say the least.
Legend has it the gem has great powers. It can kill, and it can revive the dead.
Healing properties? Not exactly. The thing is, dragons don't actually die in a traditional sense. As long as they have their jewel, their bodies can be reborn. So technically, this can only work on a regular human, if they successfully merge with a dragon jewel, thus becoming a dragon themselves. This part will be very important later.
Wellsgood, my love can feel it.
Whoa. I'm sorry, yo, what? Now hold the fucking phone. What the hell did I just witness?
Kill. I like the sound of that.
Wait. Stop the camera. What in the world just happened? First of all, who let them cook with the ship? No! You wanna know the funniest part about this? This scene you just witnessed is the only one where that fact is relevant. You can literally remove the cursed ship, and not a single thing about the rest of the movie's plot changes. Why did they even add this? Was this a pathetic attempt to stop the Black Gold Shippers? Did they really think that this could stand a chance against the Titan that is the most popular ship in the entire fandom's history? What's even more hilarious is the fact that Wellsgood and Gerald have the most chemistry out of literally any other relationship the movie tried to push. There is an upcoming scene where the heroes are stuck in the mountains, and the moment where somebody hints at the possibility of having to leave Gerald behind, Wellsgood goes fucking ballistic. Meanwhile, here he just couldn't care less. I mean, just look at Wellsgood's face when he's with Gerald and when he's with Elena. Come on, you don't even have to be a Black Gold shipper to agree with me on this one. And now to the elephant in the room. Wellsgood did fucking what? I thought we already had a villain in the form of Elena. Now it turns out the sus one was actually Wellsgood all along? Remember how I said the absence of feather is gonna come bite us in the ass later? Well, this is the exact moment I've been talking about. What the hell is this? But this isn't even the worst of it. Oh boy, things are about to get much worse with Wellsgood here. I need to move on before I go insane. So, after the Black Imposter kills Red, the crewmates leave in their search for the Black Dragon. But for some reason, the crew forgot to check the weather report, and their ship got struck by lightning and everyone almost died. But not because of the lightning, but because of this.
What?
Yeah, I don't even know if them being conveniently struck by lightning was more contrived than whatever the hell that was. Of course, everyone survived as if nothing ever happened. There is one thing I must say. The part where the heroes have to use their power to overcome various obstacles in their way is actually cool, not gonna lie. Yes, for once you will hear me say something that I like about the movie. I wish I had more where that came from, but unfortunately this is where my praise ends. Another contrived deviation from the path later, the gang arrives at a deserted field full of elf ghosts. You think they'd be a problem, but the ghosts are actually chill and don't do anything. No. The problem comes from a completely different source.
And the beast will be very interested to know about this.
Yes, a bat. Are you kidding me right now? This entire group of world-class heroes was fighting one fucking bat for 2 minutes straight. Bats are literally the weakest trash mob you could ever find in the game. You wanna see how long it actually takes to kill a bat? After witnessing this, how am I supposed to believe that the same group is supposed to defeat a whole ass dragon? Could they literally not find any more believably strong enemy for this scene? No, but sweet, it had to be a bat, because it fly and gather information for the Black Dragon. Okay, to that I have 2 things to say. 1. Bats are not the only fucking flying enemy in the game. They literally could have picked anything else that packed a punch. And second of all, this bat is fucking stupid. If its entire mission was informing the Black Dragon of intruders, why the hell did it decide to reveal itself to the heroes for literally no reason, instead of quietly flying away and doing its fucking job? You know what could have made this scene have at least a bit more sense? If the bat did indeed try to fly away after seeing them, but then Liya spotted it with her earlier established eagle eyes, and only after trying to shoot it down they engaged in combat. Literally, is this really that hard to come up with?
We can't reveal our other side. There would be no going back.
Yes, this is the moment where the viewer is supposed to realize that Gerant and Argenta have been dragons themselves this entire time. But unlike the Black Dragon, there are 2 of the 3 descendants of the ancient dragon. But who is the 3rd one, you may ask? And don't worry about it, they're not in the movie.
The Battle of the 3 Dragons, the symbol of the dragon race.
See, I told you, this lore that they never explain will be important later. For some reason, to activate this door, they had to use the power of another dragon. I don't know how none of them noticed what just happened. Liya can see her shadow all the way from the other end of the city, but not dragon power right under her nose. Yes, I'm still not letting that go. Suddenly, the movie actually remembers that there are other flying enemies than bats, and the heroes get attacked again. Eventually, this causes an avalanche to happen, and Terramite tries to seal the cave so they don't get buried in the snow. But then...
You fool! Garant is still in there! Garant! Garant!
We still have time to find the Black Dragon.
We're gonna leave this scene for later.
We failed. The whole plan is gone!
I must say, this part got me a little bit confused. I guess I wasn't paying as much attention, but apparently their plan was to get to the Dragon Jewel before it awakened. It was the one forming the army of monsters in the first place. That's what I thought they meant by taking the Dragon's Jewel, aka after killing it. But guess what? Since they fucked up, now they have to fight the dragon anyway. That begs the question, why was this part of the plot changed for the movie only for them to return to the original anyway? So this arbitrary motivational scene could happen.
Fish, I told you before, life is unpredictable and brutal, and...
Yeah, that ain't it. So anyway, Liya fucking dies. I guess this is what happens when Argenta wasn't sent to fight Elena's army. I told you not to mess with the actual lore, and look at what you did. Oh man, what are we going to do without our main love interest now? Yeah, Lambert is so mad that he unlocked a new skill. Maybe if your dumbass used all your skill points before going into the dungeon, this wouldn't have happened. Also, keep in mind, all of this insanity is happening before we even get to the dragon fight. In the movie that is supposed to be about fighting the dragon. But soon enough, the dragon finally appears. But not the one you were anticipating. Yeah, I don't know why this happened way before the Black Dragon even joined the server. Not gonna lie, I laughed out loud when I was rewatching that. out of literally any place available. Why did he aim the monster right at where she was standing? Like, you can even see it didn't fall there by accident, he kicked it in that exact direction. After almost accidentally crashing Caracul, Geron finally comes out to the rest of the group, along with Argenta. This is happening way too early, we don't even need the dragon fight at this point.
We're something new. Something Altera has never seen before.
No you ain't, what the hell are you talking about? The two of you are the leftovers of the only dragon who can actually successfully carry out the original mission of being the protectors of this world, because the other dragon became corrupted. Basically, the dragons get a bad rep because way more jewels came from the corrupted dragon. And the rest of the dragons don't have enough power to deal with them while simultaneously taking care of other threats. And then there is also the motherfucker who started it all, the Beyond Dragon. So in general, a regular person will most likely see any dragon as a threat rather than not. It's also understandable that they wouldn't trust them just because they went, "Please, we've been good," while Wellscoot goes fucking insane upon this revelation. His words trigger the actual threat, and there he finally is, the Black Dragon in question. It only took an hour, 4 minutes and 4 seconds to get to the first glimpse of it. The movie is supposed to end in 20 minutes, by the way. Wait a minute, why the hell is Gerant so small? In the game, Gerant and the Black Dragon were around equal in size. So why the hell did he turn into a literal fruit fly here? Looks like they really had to know Gerant that much in order to make the other characters remotely relevant in this battle. To that you may ask, why wasn't Gerant nerfed in the game too then? Good question. The answer is, they didn't have to. First of all, the heroes underestimated the strength of the Black Dragon during the raid. So Gerant didn't even expect to rely on his dragon power. He did so only after the rest of the heroes couldn't fight for any longer, so he had to step in order to save them and deal the finishing blows to the dragon. So by nerfing Gerant to that extent, they only fixed the problem that they themselves have created by fucking with the story so much.
Why can't we change?
Damn, you tell me. In the game, the reason Argenta never actually transforms into a dragon herself is because most of her energy is spent on protecting the monolith. Judging by her confusion, this is not the case in this universe, so I have no clue what the hell happened here. Suddenly, Lambert gets a genius idea of getting the Black Dragon's jewel in order to try reviving his dead girlfriend. Spoiler alert, this is a bad idea. But he doesn't know that yet, and they need to bonk the dragon anyway.
There's nothing we can do.
Dans mon esprit tout divin, je me perds dans tes yeux.
Their existential crisis ends literally moments later. But then all of them are about to have another one after the Black Dragon snatched Gerant and is about to turn him into fried goldfish. Ain't no way she actually did it! You know, I do feel bad that the only time we actually get to see Argenta's dragon form is in this movie. Even though it makes no sense that she even had enough energy to do that. But she slayed, only for a couple of seconds though. But it doesn't matter, because after Gerant is freed, the heroes finally get an idea to spam their ultimates all at once. And then Gerant gets snatched again, god damn it. Where did he even pull that arrow from? And how the hell is this one arrow so damn strong? Apparently Lambert stabbed his arrow right into Achilles' heel, because moments later Gerant finally managed to rip the Black Dragon's jewel and end the fight. And now everyone is poisoned by the dragon blood. Great. Now that the jewel is with Gerant, Lambert wants it to save Liya. But Gerant tells him that this will corrupt her. So to solve that issue, he...
If there is any life left in Liya, we'll revive her. Try.
Wait, he does what? Nah, bruh, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. Even if by some chance Lambert didn't turn into a dragon himself after touching the gem, this exact thing would happen to Liya. Well, sure, that would revive her, I guess, but that's not what happens here. But while we're too distracted by this inconsistency, Vels could go sicko mode.
With this gem, I am going to rule the world. Reign over humans, elves, and even what's left of dragons.
The gem is controlling you. Don't!
Yeah, apparently this was his evil master plan all along. Despite what Termite says here, we know that's not true. We know this all the way from Velskut's first imposter kill. But if you get a feeling that whatever is happening right now it still doesn't make any sense, trust me, we will discuss this in detail a bit later. While trying his best to knock some sense into Velskut, Lambert accidentally does the opposite and pushes the funny jeweler right into him. This of course leads to the infamous merge. So at this point it's Velskut who will be the Black Dragon now, right?
I will rule over all!
What the hell is the same as MySpace demon? That thing ain't a black dragon. I think the jewels are supposed to do that. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Lambert, please kill this emo demon, you are our only hope.
Altera is again at peace.
Yeah, apparently everyone forgot about the Black Dragon's jewel, which they apparently came here for in the first place. And with that, the movie finally ends. But you know what doesn't end yet? This review. Before I can give my overall thoughts on this movie, I still have a lot to discuss. And frankly, I think that by this point you already figured out that I don't like this movie very much. I've already given you many examples of things in this movie that drove me up the wall. But you may also have noticed that I've shown you several scenes which I didn't comment on. That is because it would be best to make it into its own section. And those scenes, of course, were about Velskut. Throughout this review, I've pointed out several times how the characters don't act like how they're supposed to, or simply don't make any sense at all. It's true that many characters have suffered in this movie. For example, what the hell happened to Argenta? She is supposed to be a cool badass, but here she somehow turned into a meek little sister archetype. Argenta is not even a little sister in the first place, she's years older than Geraint. She definitely got it bad, but Velskut, man, Velskut got it the absolute worst. It's as if they've taken his character, ran him through a juicer, and the only thing that was left was a shell of his former self. One thing you may not know about me is that Velskut used to be my #1 Dragoness husbando, before that title was taken by Kyle Drom. You've also seen me unintentionally turn into a Velskut kin several times during this video. So, as a certified simp, I consider myself quite knowledgeable on the topic of his character. That is why I feel obligated to fully break down every little way in which this movie absolutely destroyed Velskut.
I promise that the ending always stays the same, so there's no good reason in make-believing that we could ever exist again.
To fully understand the issue with Velskut's character in the movie, it's important to know how he was like in the game's lore. The main thing about Velskut's character is that in the beginning of the story, the player is made to believe that he is evil, but the truth is, he never was. Unless of course you're playing as academic, then you know everything from the start. The reason you think that he is evil is because the other characters who tell you about him also assume he is evil. The reason Velskut himself never actually tries to clear the air about this is because he doesn't care about how he's perceived by others. The only thing on his mind is revenge. Who does he hold this massive grudge on exactly? Well, it's none other than the actual villain, Feder. Yes, from the very beginning of the game, Velskut and the player share the same enemy. Every seemingly evil thing Velskut did was actually for the good this entire time. But what about the part that's more relevant to the movie? In other words, the events 50 years ago. Well, to be frank, Velskut wasn't exactly an innocent man, but at the same time a victim of circumstance. Wellscoot was born into a noble family, who also happened to be dragon followers, and consequently servants of Feather. In other words, Wellscoot didn't have a choice but to become one himself from a very young age. So while he eventually became a member of the royal army, he was also secretly one of the apostles. This is where his connection to Elena comes from. The reason he joined the 6 heroes in the Black Dragon raid wasn't because he wanted to save the world, nor because he wanted the jewel for himself either. The one who actually wanted the jewel was Feather. That is why he entrusted the mission of retrieving it to his loyal follower Wellscoot. What happened instead was Wellscoot accidentally merging with the Black Dragon's jewel himself. But unlike the movie, that didn't cause him to turn into the emo demon. Instead, he was carried away by Elena and brought straight to Feather. But before that happened, Wellscoot had the confrontation with Gerant, after the latter revealed himself to be a dragon. Wellscoot was distraught. He was furious that his best friend was lying to his face this entire time. At that moment, he felt utterly betrayed. By the ironic twist of fate, Wellscoot then soon became a dragon himself. But as soon as that happened, he experienced yet another betrayal. He discovered that Feather, whom he loyally followed for most of his life, never cared about him and used him for his own personal gain. Wellscoot was given to the hands of another apostle, where he was tortured and experimented on, while they attempted to extract the jewel out of him. Eventually, Wellscoot managed to successfully escape and swore to take revenge on Feather for everything he was put through. Now that you've heard basically the entire Wellscoot's life story, we're going to compare that to what happened in the movie. The movie tried to replicate the fact that Wellscoot joined the 6 heroes for his own mission. However, as we've realized, Feather simply doesn't exist in this universe. So the title of Big Bad has been transferred to Wellscoot. And this is exactly where everything falls apart. There are several scenes where Wellscoot clearly expresses having doubts, regret, and second thoughts, as if he knows that what he is doing is wrong and wants to stop, but he doesn't have a choice, which would all work in the context of him secretly working for Feather. But it immediately stops making any sense as soon as we find out that apparently Wellscoot is the one who wants to be the ultimate supreme leader of evil. In fact, Wellscoot being evil makes absolutely zero sense at all. It contradicts not only what his character is all about, but also literally everything else we see about him. One thing that this movie made sure to show us is that Wellscoot is extremely loyal to his best friend Gerant and deeply cares about him. Well, except for the moment where he finds out he's actually a dragon, but we'll get to that. At no point does his friendship with Gerant feel insincere or like it's been all a facade to trick everyone. That is why it feels absolutely jarring to see him do a complete 180 and turn against everyone, including Gerant, without a second thought. Despite this, you might say that villains don't necessarily have to be 100% bad and must have no redeeming qualities. I completely agree with that. However, this is not what happened here. The reason Wellscoot doesn't make a good villain in this case is because there is completely no reason for him to even be one. Usually, when we talk about redeeming qualities in a villain, it has to do with the reason why they turn to the path of evil in the first place. In other words, their motivation. Now, can anyone please tell me what are Wellscoot's motivations here to be exact? As far as we were shown, his only goal was to rule the entire world. And in order to achieve that goal, he would turn to murder, betrayal, and if you forgot, literal genocide. Another thing that I don't understand is why does Wellscoot hate dragons so much exactly? Okay, Gerant might be a dragon, but you literally want to be the supreme overlord. How does that make any sense? It's not like Wellscoot was given any personal reasons to hate them either, like even some basic shit. For example, his parents were warred by a dragon when he was a kid, and now he had to grow up an orphan. Literally anything like that would be better than nothing. We already know this movie ain't canon. This could also be tied to the reason he became evil in the first place, but nope. Now, you might argue that in the game, Wellscoot also got incredibly angry when he found out Gerant was a dragon. And you will be right about that. However, now, I may be wrong about this, but while I was refreshing these events in my mind, I couldn't exactly find any information that would outright confirm that Whalescoot hates all dragons. What I found, however, is that the main reason why Whalescoot was upset was because he found out Gerant had been lying to him this entire time. After all, Gerant was his best friend, the person Whalescoot thought he could trust the most. And then all of a sudden, he found out that he's been keeping such a giant secret. Compared to that, however, movie Whalescoot is just racist, that's it. I have no other explanation why he would hate dragons in particular. I feel like what happened is that the movie tried to make Whalescoot into a complex, flawed character, but without actually understanding what made him a complex character in the first place, or knowing what his character was at all. Honestly, I don't even know what they were going for with him in general. You can't even call him a twist villain, as we were shown that he killed the king very early on, quite soon after Whalescoot was first introduced, so he didn't even have the surprise factor going for him. In conclusion, there was absolutely no reason to turn Whalescoot into an antagonist, but if it makes no sense for Whalescoot to be a villain, then who would it be? Well, I don't blame you if you completely forgot. But there was another person who actually had everything necessary to turn into a compelling villain this entire time. Of course, I'm talking about none other than Elena. She's even been introduced way earlier than our boy Whalescoot, but for some reason all the limelight ended up falling on him. So my question is, what exactly happened with Elena?
What the fuck wrong with you?
On that good cushion, that good cushion.
For this section, I'm going to focus on Elena in the movie rather than her game lore counterpart, because her intentions are surprisingly close to what they've been in the game. Elena's motivations are very clear from the very beginning when she was first introduced in the movie. What? A villain with an actual motive? No way! Anyway, Elena explains that her reason for wanting to rule the world is because she isn't happy with the current state of affairs. As we've already discussed, in this Dragon Nest universe, the humans don't exactly have the best relationship with elves for some reason. This narrative choice could actually work, but we'll see why it doesn't later. And since even regular elves aren't really welcome, dark elves are even more shunned. Elena is tired that her kind, monsters and other creatures are mistreated by humans, so she wants to punish them by establishing a new world order where human race would be the minority instead. Remember I briefly mentioned a scene where the heroes stumble upon a field full of elf ghosts, and I said that part wasn't really important. Actually, I lied, it kinda was. Sometime after the heroes get absolutely dunked on by a bat and leave, we get to see this moment with Elena.
We elves, we were wronged here. I will be back to free you when I have that gem.
Here, another aspect of Elena's motivations get highlighted. Revenge. She despises the human race for what they did not only to her kind, but fellow elves as well. It's clear that she sees humans as judgmental and irredeemable, and because of this, she sees it as her duty to put them in their place. One thing that kinda breaks this immersion, however, is the fact that she liked Whalescoot even though he was a human? I guess the only reason she did was because he wanted to rule the world too. Although that still wouldn't make any sense. In fact, that should only make him worse, since his motivations are entirely selfish and would only highlight the negative qualities of humanity that Elena hates. This is just yet another reason why villain Whalescoot is a train wreck of an idea. It's so bad that it not only ruins his character but Elena's too. Since this moment literally breaks everything that's been established earlier, let's just acknowledge its sheer awfulness and forget about it for a second, since it has absolutely no relevance to the rest of the story. Anyway, back to the analysis. On one hand, we have Elena, who wants to bring down the human race for everything they did to all the other creatures. But on the other hand, we have Nervin. Unlike Elena, she believes that there is hope for the future where humans and elves can live in harmony and work together. For this reason, she decides to try allying with the humans in order to defeat Elena's forces. We can see that the human king is hesitant to work with elves at first, but then he gives in under the threat of monster attacks. When Nobelista and Liya join the rest of the human heroes, we can see that together they make a strong team. although this fact isn't actually explored in the movie. We are supposed to believe that humans and elves working together is something out of the ordinary and novel. But at the same time, the moment the alliance is formed, everyone just immediately accepts them as being part of the gang. There is no moment of realization like, wow, you elves are actually very helpful, and you humans are pretty strong fighters. They are just besties now, I guess. Now back to the ghost scene again. The reason I said it's both important and kinda not is because it reveals information that could be crucial to the plot, but the movie just does nothing with it. There is a brief moment of tension between the group after Nervin sees all the ghosts of fallen elves who were all killed in the war with humans. Now, this could be the part where she starts having doubts about helping humans. Maybe Elena was right and she should have joined her instead. It could also be the moment where the humans in the group show remorse and express that they wish to amend for what their ancestors did in the past, and there is still future ahead to fix everything. Nothing like that actually happens. What did we get instead? The fucking dumbass bad scene. The humans here were actually rather disrespectful, if I do say so myself. Oh, a bunch of you people died here? Go cry about it. The fuck that got to do with me?
This tragedy was not only the fault of the humans. Yes, it was.
Ignore these creatures. Don't let them distract us.
Like, I don't understand. It's like no character development happens until the plot finds it convenient for the characters to all be friendly and shit. At this point, the movie specifically went out of its way to paint most humans, besides a handful of you, like complete fucking assholes. Hell, I might as well start rooting for Elena. Is that what you want me to get away from this? This is not a good message to send to the children you're trying to market to, by the way. Well, despite all of this, the humans and elves do end up finding common ground in here. But what about the dragons? You know, since the movie is supposed to be about dragons, even though they did break the timeline of events, even the dragons are accepted as one of their own. At this point, the heroes basically got the most diverse team they could. Now, for a second, let's pretend that we're in a timeline that's slightly better than this, and will and worse could never happen. So instead of the emo demon, the final boss is Elena herself. Right now, this team would basically represent every flaw in Elena's idea. After all, it's not only humans and elves working together, but it's also dragons as well. Through trials and tribulations, our characters learn to celebrate each other's differences, and now they will defeat the toxic idea of separation and blind revenge represented by Elena. Or that would have happened if the movie actually followed the message it laid out the foundation for. As it stands, the movie itself doesn't actually have any coherent message. It looked like it wanted to tackle problems like racism or oppression of certain groups, but instead it did nothing with it. The main thing the movie tried its best to push was that love wins or something like that, even though it put in no effort in trying to convey that message, so it just falls flat on its face. Even the romance between the two main characters. Was their relationship between human and elf supposed to be forbidden love, since humans and elves aren't supposed to like each other? But there's absolutely nothing that suggests this. Why was the plot about the conflict between humans and elves even a thing, if the conflict isn't even explored in the end? You know, even if this movie wasn't really canon to the actual Dragon Nest lore, or if it did end up changing some things about the characters, even if that would completely rewrite them, at the very least it could have an actual message. But instead, it did all of the things I've just mentioned and just strung them along a loose, pointless plotline that achieved absolutely nothing by the time the movie ended. There's been one question I kept asking myself while reviewing this movie, but in the end I still couldn't determine a concrete answer. And that question is, who is this movie targeted at exactly? Well, besides actual toddlers. This movie tries to put in fan service, and at a certain parts it requires knowledge of the actual game lore to understand it, like with the Battle of the Three Dragons for example. But at the same time, it seemingly tried its best to piss off anyone who actually played the original game by butchering the characters and completely destroying already established lore. I feel like they tried to appeal to all demographics. People who did play the game and people who never did. Hopefully convincing the latter to check it out and spend some of their hard-earned money in the cash shop. In the end, by trying to hit two birds with one stone, they missed both completely. This movie isn't even a good introduction to the lore of Dragon Nest, as almost all of the lore in this movie is completely false. And if by chance I saw this movie before knowing what Dragon Nest is all about, and then I found out, hey, there is more of it in the game, go play it, I would be like, bruh, hell nah, I've had enough of this bullshit in the movie, what makes you think I wanna play a whole game about it? So what are my overall thoughts on Warriors Dawn? The plot. This movie is the most contrived string of events I've ever seen. The only reason anything happens is because of luck, or should I say lack thereof. If any of you are writing a story right now, never do this. Sure, maybe if luck only led to a minor event or only had a major effect on the plot once, it wouldn't be that bad. But if it's the only reason the plot even moves forward, then I wouldn't even call it a plot at all. The characters. I've already spoken at length about how abysmal the characters are in this movie. Considering a lot of the time the characters are the only reason you would forgive some of a bad movie's fault, something like this isn't even possible here. All the characters you would have known if you were a fan of the game were taken and made either flat and boring or completely unlikable and irredeemable. Whichever category your favorite character happened to fall into, you wouldn't like to see it. And even regarding the characters who don't have a counterpart in the actual game, like Liya and Lambert, they're just complete cardboard cutouts. Lambert feels like a self-insert OC, while Liya is his fantasy made-up girlfriend who goes to another school. Literally nothing endearing about these two. The message. Yeah, there is no such thing in here, we already discussed that. Animation. This is something I haven't mentioned previously, because it wasn't as important as everything else that has been thrown on me. Anyway, considering this movie was made in 2014, and also wasn't made by Pixar, I would say that the animation is the only thing this movie has going for it. The same thing can be said about the soundtrack. I don't have anything against it, I think it was pretty good. In conclusion, if you have the mental capacity above the age of 6, don't bother watching this movie. In fact, you'd probably be more entertained watching one of those Minecraft Squid Game minion videos, since they have the same level of plot and at least they're kinda funny. If you want to experience the same story but 10 times better, just go play the actual game. It's a free download. Or hell, watch Nobelista play it on YouTube if you can't play it yourself. If you want a fantasy movie, just go watch the actual Lord of the Rings instead. This crap is not worth it. In general, there is a billion other things for you to see instead of this. I have nothing else to say. Peace out. There is one thing that's still bothering me though. The fact that this movie ended on somewhat of a cliffhanger. No, I'm not saying that because it ended on a shot of an actual cliff. There was still that unresolved plot with the dragon jewel, right? Wait, please don't tell me it means what I think it means. No. No. No!
No! God, please, no! 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 No!